So I'm going to call to order the meeting of the Judiciary Committee. And the two members are present, Greg and myself. And apparently we are going to discuss the process for hiring a new city manager. We had received something like 23 applications. So those need to be gone through. All council members should have received all of them. And I'd ask that, I'm going to ask everybody to make sure you read them all and narrow it down to those that we feel are the most likely to fill the requirements we have for the office before we get too deep. Some of them, I can tell you right now, will just automatically don't have the qualifications that we're looking for. So that will narrow it somewhat, but there are several in there that are very good, and we need to look at those, right?
Narrow it down to how many?
Well, I think Justin suggested 5, or you did, and I think that's not a bad idea. If we cull it down, if each the council members narrow it down to those 5 that we feel have the most, meet the qualifications best, we'll do the best job for the city, and then we can come together and discuss all those and get on the same page, and then issue invitations for interviews and go from there. I suspect that's going to take a process of discussion when you've got 7 people, and we could wind up with 35 different ones. But since we only have 23 apps, that's going to be difficult. Even I'm bad at math, and even I know that won't work. So, but I'm going to ask all the council members to do that. Right? Anything else?
By the next Monday.
Yes, by next Monday, because that's our regular council meeting. So that'll give us a week. Susan sent all of them out to us. I would strongly urge you to print them all, not all of them, but print the 5 that you especially like, and have those, and we will talk about them next week.
So 23 applicants, give it down to 5.
Yes, 23, narrow it down to 5, please.
Which I'll be in Florida then, so I'll send you my list.
Oh, you'll be in Florida.
Or my wife and I will be our 20th anniversary, so she told me I wanted to go to Florida.
Well, you stay here and I'll go to Florida with your wife.
I'm sorry.
You stay here and I'll go to Florida with your wife. No worries.
Don't threaten me, it's a good time.
Okay.
She's not
All right.
watching. She's watching volleyball right now.
If you will send those to me, Justin, I appreciate it.
I will.
And I'll make sure we pass them on, and we'll have that discussion and go from there. Anything else? Nancy?
When we have our discussions, could we please have it in a bigger room?
Yes,
I mean,
It's kind of claustrophobic in
Yes,
there.
it is, very.
yes, we'll figure out a place where we can have it. Yes, absolutely. You're welcome. That'll be $100 for you. All right.
Concerning city manager position and another position, I think moving forward, we need to have a set procedure. So that's done the same way every time.
Yes, a set procedure.
Every time that we do this process, it's different.
No, it does need to be put together, and
And
I
we don't
think,
have to do that for this time.
no, but we should work with each other and come up with one. But basically, make sure that it's done the same way every time, that the same person, like the clerk, receives the applications, they're distributed to all the council members.
Yeah, the whole procedure.
The whole procedure, narrow it down, come together for discussion.
Make an itemized list.
I'm sorry.
Make an itemized
Yes,
checklist.
yes.
And
And even come up with a list of set questions for each one of the candidates, things that we specifically want to know.
that would be
Yes,
set up, yeah. And I think, when there's a vacant seat on council, the same thing. We need a set procedure every time. Sometimes it's done in executive, sometimes it's the candidates set here,
I think,
sometimes
I
they
understand.
speak up. I think it should be the same way set procedure every time.
Yes, and I think having those in open council session is best because the person that's going to take the council seat represents the citizens of Nelsonville. And so I think those individuals need to be able to listen to what we ask them and hear the responses from the candidate. So I think we can narrow that, do the same thing. Procedure as a letter, has to be a letter. Request, or unless, you know, a letter requesting consideration for the seat. Those letters need to be distributed to all the council members so that we all know who it is. And then we invite them in as we did the last time. We ask them questions in open council so that everybody can hear them. And then the decision is made and vote. I think that's a logical way to do it.
Well, I've been involved in a few different ways, and I think the candidates sitting at a table here in front of us, and they're asked the same question. They answer the same question, we just go around the table. And that's the way it is.
But shouldn't the questions pertain to the candidate as opposed to a question asked to all of them?
I'm just bringing it up. That's a discussion that we can have. How
Yes,
to set the procedure.
yes, we can look at that as a method of doing it. I think there's room, Nancy, for both, that
Yeah.
there are certain questions that we would like to have answers to about specific things regarding council, but then there may be individual questions we need to have answered as well. So there's room for both in there.
When will the public know the five?
I'm sorry, I hear a
When
voice.
will the public know the five that have been nominated?
As soon as, I think that's part of the process that we have to look at how we're going to do that. I think frankly, they should be published, that these are the five candidates that
Sure.
the council is going to be looking at, so that, once again, as citizens, we all know who those people are that we will be looking at.
Okay.
And I think the way to do that is on our city hall page, definitely publish it there, and
In the paper or something?
I'm
It'll be
sorry.
in the paper.
And
In the
it'd be in the
paper?
paper, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
I think we ought to interview them in public as well, because it does affect the citizens. of the
Say
city.
again.
Should probably interview them in public as well, because it does affect citizens of.
It has been done that way, in other cities much larger than ours. I have no problem with.
Because they are
doing those
public
in the open.
officials, so.
Yes, because they're public officials. Same thing with council. I mean, whoever the city manager is going to be working for the citizens of Nelsonville, so. I myself have no problem with interviewing those candidates in open area, much as Greg said. Put them at a table and ask them questions. Yes, ma'am.
I was saying that if you did it that way, it would add to the transparency of the whole
Yes.
situation for both types of positions.
And that's very important because anything that's a mystery opens itself up to misinterpretation. And so it's much better if things are, as you said, transparent and in the open.
I don't know if this falls under judiciary, but we need to look at updating the city charter,
The
the Nelsonville city charter. It
Yes,
needs
oh, yes.
updated. It's supposed to be updated every,
This one is from
5 years.
1994.
It's the original.
yeah,
Mhm.
and so,
And it is judiciary. So we need to appoint a committee.
well, we need to get a legal opinion on the process. Because I suggest that
Legal opinion on what?
on the process.
Well, the process before was, if I look at it,
The steering
A committee,
committee was put
yeah.
together.
and I'm assuming that's the way it should be done this time. I don't necessarily think it needs a legal opinion. I think if that worked the last time, it would work this time. It's a matter of who is on that committee. Obviously, it needs to be a citizens committee as well as representatives from, I think, from council.
I think it was before.
Yeah.
I'm
I know-
sorry,
I think it was before. I know some people that were on that committee.
Betty Jo, you were on that committee, were you not?
No, I wrote for the newspaper and I covered all the.
Oh, okay, I
meetings,
thought you were on
I'm not sure that
Greg's
any,
wife was on the.
I don't think any council members were part of the
Yeah,
original
well, I
committee.
read, I don't believe
I think Fritz
That's why
Wilson
we
was on
need,
it, wasn't he?
we need, to make
Okay,
sure we
well-
do it proper.
I'm not, once again, I'm not sure it requires a legal opinion, but if we shouldn't be on there, we
Okay,
shouldn't
I'll
be on
change
there.
it from opinion to guidance.
I'm sorry,
I'll change it from opinion to guidance. Make sure that we do it properly.
of course.
Sure.
But we do know a citizens committee would be
Absolutely.
definitely the way to
The
go.
steering committee.
And that needs to, we need to get that process underway as soon as possible because it's going to take a while to rewrite it.
Absolutely.
And bring it into dragging it, kicking and screaming into this century. Preferably in modern English so that everyone can understand it and rather than couching it in legalese, but that's something that the writers will have to contend with instead of us. So we will take that as the next step and you and I can talk about that and whoever I'm assuming Corey will be on this committee. Tony,
I'm
is that
assuming.
correct?
I don't know.
Soon.
Then we could work with it.
That was where Neil was.
Yes.
And so we can put together a process. I will send you a recommendation. We'll have it maybe for Monday and we can see if we can go from there.
And also, we truly need an HR policy. I don't know if that falls under judiciary
Judiciary.
again, but whatever committee it is.
Yeah, I would say it falls under judiciary because, HR policy deals with employee ethics, behavior, expectations, standards,
Firing, hiring.
hiring and firing and kickbacks. Oh, no, I didn't say that, did I? And all of those sort of things. So, yeah, yes, we do. So we're gonna do good.
Yeah, and who writes, job descriptions for city employees?
Isn't that department, department heads, yeah.
Okay, so there was some discussion I brought up before, the job description of the administrative assistant to the city manager and the code enforcement officer job description. Would that fall under city manager?
That would fall under city manager who supervises those positions, yes.
And one last thing, we have a code of conduct for city and Nelsonville council members. I think there needs to be a discussion on following that. And if not, we need to look at changing it. We don't need to go into that now because we don't have much time. But everybody signed on council this, code of conduct, and it is not being followed.
Do you want to
So
be
I'm
more
just-
specific?
We can discuss that at another time. I don't think there's time to do that in about 7 minutes.
Which committee's next?
The next committee is street committee.
And I want to ask one question. Financially, if with the charter update and whatever, that the financial part of that should be one of the top priorities because changing that or re-amplifying it, that's going to be costly. I'm not opposed to doing anything. I just am pointing out the finances for that. You're going to have to figure out where that money's going to come from to implement all the changes. It's important.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yes. Yeah, well, we got step one is organize, step two is rewrite and look at the money as we go through. Because it's difficult to anticipate what things are going to cost until we see how we have to change them. So yeah, Greg, I think as far as the job descriptions go, we could perhaps ask the department chairs through the city manager to look at the job descriptions for those folks in their departments, see where they need to be updated and begin there. I'm sure some of those need to be changed to reflect more accurately the work that's being done by individuals in those positions. I'm sure some of them haven't been changed in a long time. And so, yeah.
Well, we just recently seen the job description for the code officer and administrative assistant,
Yes, we have those.
and there was issues. I brought it up in executive.
There were issues about,
the job description. They didn't quite fit for what we were looking for.
Okay, well, we can look at those and
Yeah.
see what needs to be changed. Ultimately, approval for those job descriptions should come through, that's a good question. Approval comes through city manager? Ultimately, yeah, ultimately, final approval on job descriptions comes to the city manager. I think job descriptions should be written as sort of like zero-based budgeting. I could walk in off the street, pick up your job description, and know what I have to do, instead of having to fight my way through it, if you know what I mean. So they need to be very clearly written and very explicit in requirements and details. That way, people know what's expected of them and not expected of them. So
Absolutely.
we're gonna look at, I will summarize all of these things, the processes that we're looking at, the HR stuff, code of conduct for the council. What am I missing? What am I missing?
City charter, vacant council seat, city manager position,
Charter, that's what I left off. How did I leave that off?
HR policy,
Got that.
job descriptions.
All right.
Yeah.
I got all that. I just left a little tiny thing about rewriting the charter off my list, but I'll let that back. So, is there anything, anyone else? Nancy?
I would request that our city attorney, through our president, make sure and get back with us when we have an issue. It's like he takes forever to get anything done.
You mean respond to
Yes,
text or,
Yes, I do.
or emails and phone calls?
yes.
So there's no response happening? So you're not getting, yeah, okay. Tony, I guess that falls on you.
Okay.
As chair, as, president of the council, to talk to Mr. Torrey and encourage him. And everybody else, I mean, that's the standard. If somebody sends an email, then you need to respond to that email. If somebody calls you, you need to respond to that call. That's part of being on council, so, and part of being the attorney, so.
Should we be communicating with Mr. Floyd through the city manager or with the directly? I thought that's how usually.
I'm sorry, say that again.
Usually it works sent to the city manager.
Okay,
That's always a process.
That's how it is.
So anything we want done, I want to get this straight.
okay.
We have to go, we write it all up, and then we give it to the city manager. Is that what you're saying?
How we did before, and then he addresses it with the attorney.
Yeah, because the city attorney works actually directly into the city manager. Let me know.
You wish. And I just want to make sure that these new written policies are not going to interfere with the two new hires on code and administration.
They won't.
That's the area that will- City manager is the one writing the descriptions.
All right. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Should the code officer give a report monthly, such as the chief does, such as Mr. Barber does, on who he's contacted, who he's written up, who he's taken that we're gonna take to court, whose house is gonna be, you know, should we have a monthly report so we can see what he is doing monthly?
I would assume
Yeah,
that
so
such goes to the city
he
manager.
typically does report on the same night as the police department, but he hasn't done so yet just because he's still kind of getting his bearings and figuring out the job.
But that will start,
Yes.
good.
Okay. Anything else? Good question, Pete. If you were in my class, I'd give you all a name.
First one we got.
Okay, if there's nothing else, then I will close this meeting at what, 7?
6:39.
There you go. Oh, it's only 6?
Yeah.
Okay,